He shot straight up, slammed his head into the roof, and screamed like a man who had just seen death itself. Because in that moment, he truly believed we were about to be crushed by a speeding semi-truck. And the worst part? I made sure of it. If you've ever had someone push you to your absolute limit, someone who thought they could bully you without consequences, then this story is going to hit hard. So go ahead, hit that like button, subscribe to Silent Comeback, and turn on the bell notification. Because the ending of this one, it's pure, chaotic justice. I was 18 years old when I got my first real job. No degree, no experience, just a kid trying to survive. And somehow, I landed in the Canadian oil fields. Back then, it felt like hitting the jackpot. $20 an hour, early 2000s, minimum wage was barely scraping $6. For a teenager like me, that was life-changing money. The job was called well testing. Rough work, dirty work. You'd haul heavy pipes, set up pressure tanks, monitor flow rates, record data. Some days were brutal. Others were just long stretches of silence, staring at gauges and screens. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest work. And I could have handled all of it if it wasn't for Gary. Gary was my supervisor. Mid-50s, overweight, always sweating, always tired, and always drunk. The kind of man who'd clearly given up on himself, but made it everyone else's problem. We worked in two-man crews, which meant I was stuck with him. 12 hours a shift, every day, no escape. At first, I thought, okay, just keep your head down, learn the job, don't make waves. But Gary didn't want peace. He wanted a punching bag. And I was young, quiet, still figuring myself out. Perfect target. He barely worked. I'd be out there lifting pipes, dragging equipment, setting everything up, while he sat in the trailer watching DVDs, sleeping, drinking. Then, once an hour, he'd type a few numbers into the computer like he was doing something important. And the moment I made a mistake, he'd be there. Are you stupid? Didn't your dad teach you anything? That one hit different, because my dad wasn't really around. And like an idiot, I told him that once. Big mistake. After that, it became his favorite weapon. Every slip-up, every small error. Yeah, no wonder your dad walked on you. And when I finally snapped and said that's not okay, he just smirked. Relax, it's just a joke. Can't you take a joke? That's the thing about people like Gary. They hide cruelty behind humor. And when you call it out, suddenly you're the problem. The worst part wasn't even the job. It was the isolation. We worked far out in the middle of nowhere, hours away from the city, which meant dinner together every night, usually at some small town bar. And Gary? He didn't just drink, he lived on alcohol. 2 drinks in, he'd become almost likable, laughing, telling stories, but it never lasted. Because the next morning, he'd be hungover, useless, and I'd be driving his truck to the site. That's right, his truck. But I was driving it every single day, sometimes 100, 200, even 350 kilometers. And he got paid for every kilometer. I got minimum wage for travel time. He'd pass out in the passenger seat, snoring, drooling, dead weight, while I drove in silence, replaying every insult in my head. 3 months. That's how long I endured it. 3 months of being talked down to, 3 months of being disrespected, 3 months of swallowing anger. And here's the thing about people like me back then. I didn't explode. I didn't fight back. I just went quiet. But silence, it's not peace, it's pressure. And pressure builds until one moment when everything breaks. That moment came during dinner one night. We were sitting across from each other, same routine, same drinks, same fake laughter. And I said something small, something reasonable. "Hey, since I'm driving your truck every day, maybe you could throw me a few bucks." That's it. That's all it took. Gary snapped completely. His face twisted with rage. He started shouting. Insults turned into venom. And then he threatened my job. Something inside me shifted. Not anger, not fear. Something colder, quieter. I didn't argue. I didn't fight back. But in that moment, I decided something. I wasn't going to survive Gary anymore. I was going to end Gary. Not physically, but mentally, emotionally. I was done being his victim. The next morning, everything aligned. He passed out again, hungover, useless, and I was driving. About 30 kilometers from the site, I saw it. A semi-truck was parked on the side of the highway, engine running, driver outside. And suddenly, I had an idea. I pulled over, quietly, carefully. Gary didn't even stir. I walked up to the trucker. "Hey, I need a favor." Now, most people would say no, but this guy, he smiled, like he already knew something interesting was about to happen. I explained the plan. Simple, loud, terrifying. He nodded, got back in his truck, waited. I repositioned Gary's truck right in front of the semi, almost bumper to bumper. Then I sat there for a second, looking at him, still asleep, still peaceful, after everything he'd put me through. And I thought, you wanted a joke? Let's make it funny. I gave the signal, and then hell broke loose. The semi's air horn exploded, a deafening, earth-shaking blast. At the same time, I slammed on our horn, started screaming at the top of my lungs, "We're gonna die!" Chaos. Pure chaos. Gary shot up like he'd been launched from hell itself. His head slammed into the roof. His eyes were wide, wild, terrified. For one glorious moment, he believed it. He believed death was coming. And then the smell hit. Yeah, he lost control completely. The man who had spent 3 months humiliating me was now sitting there, pants ruined, screaming in pure panic. I pulled away, laughing, actually laughing. He started yelling, threatening, raging, but it didn't matter, because for the first time, he had no power. At one point, he screamed that I could have killed him, that he had high blood pressure, that he could have had a stroke. And I just said, "Relax, can't you take a joke?" Silence. Then more rage. But underneath it, fear. Real fear. The rest of the drive? 20 minutes of him trying to decide whether to kill me or survive the moment. When we got to the site, he exploded. "Get out, you're fired." And honestly, I didn't care. I sat there, smoking, laughing to myself, replaying it over and over. 4 hours later, the company owner showed up. Apparently, Gary had spun some insane story, tried to make it sound like attempted murder. But when I told the truth, even the boss laughed. And just like that, I was reassigned. New crew, fresh start. Gary? Still Gary, but not my problem anymore. For 3 months, he made me feel small, powerless, invisible. But in less than 1 minute, I flipped everything. He went from predator to terrified, from control to chaos. And the best part? I didn't raise a fist. I didn't scream. I didn't fight. I just made him feel exactly what I had been feeling inside. Powerless. Sometimes revenge isn't about destruction. It's about balance. About reminding someone that actions have consequences. And sometimes the loudest revenge comes from the quietest person in the room. If this story gave you that satisfying feeling of justice, go ahead, hit the like button, subscribe to Silent Comeback, and turn on the bell notification so you don't miss the next story. And tell me in the comments, what's the most satisfying revenge you've ever seen? Because trust me, this is just the beginning.